I walked through the door expecting Christmas. What I got was silence, cold ham on a chipped plate, and my grandmother sitting alone in the kitchen. On the table between us sat a folded piece of notebook paper with my name on it. Inside, took your $8,500 for a cruise. Watch Grandma while we're gone. Mum. My grandmother looked at me across that table, her hands shaking slightly as she pushed the note toward me, and said 5 words that would change everything. We're going to fix this. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded. For days later, every single one of them was on their knees begging me to stop. Before I go any further, do me one small favor. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. Because what happened next is going to make you rethink every family gathering you've ever trusted. I work nights. Weekends too. Drive Uber when I can, pick up freelance gigs whenever they're available. For 13 months straight, I'd been putting away everything I could for one thing, dental surgery. $8,500. 3 cracked molars from a car accident that make eating feel like chewing on broken glass. Every bite a reminder that I was one paycheck away from finally fixing it. When I pushed open my parents' front door that Christmas Eve, I expected noise. Laughter. The burnt cookie smell that always filled the house during holidays. Instead, I got the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the faint clink of silverware against ceramic. Something was very wrong. Hello? I called out, stepping inside slowly, my shoes tracking melting snow across the entry. In here, sweetheart, came the reply. Soft. Tired. Defeated in a way that made my stomach drop. I turned the corner into the kitchen and froze. My grandmother sat alone at the table in that purple knitted sweater she'd worn for the past decade, now hanging loose on her thinning frame. In front of her, a plate of stuffing that had gone hard around the edges and a piece of ham that looked like it had been sitting out since yesterday. The same grandmother who'd fallen down the stairs 2 winters ago and developed that permanent limp because nobody, not one person in this family, had bothered to take her to physical therapy. She didn't say anything at first. Just slid that note across the table with trembling fingers. I picked it up. Unfolded it. Read it once. Then again, because my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're gone. Love, Mom. My hands went numb. The paper crinkled in my grip. Loan. They'd called it a loan like they ever intended to pay it back. Where is everyone? I finally managed, my voice coming out strangled. They left yesterday morning, Grandma said quietly, folding and refolding her napkin with mechanical precision. Didn't tell me until the night before. Said it would just be a few minutes while they ran errands. Then your mother left that note on the counter and they were gone. I sat down hard in the chair across from her. The seat felt cold even through my jeans. No phone call. No warning. Just took my money I'd earned working myself to exhaustion, money meant to fix the teeth that made me wince every time I drank something cold, and left her here alone with leftovers and a note. I opened my phone with shaking hands. Checked the family group chat. Nothing. The last message was from November. From my mom, don't forget to transfer the loan to Dad's account. Need to book before prices jump. Loan. They'd never called it a gift because they knew damn well it wasn't. But they'd taken it anyway. Spent it anyway. And now they were sipping champagne somewhere while Grandma ate yesterday's ham in an empty house. I could hear my mom's voice in my head from that phone call back in November. It's just a short-term loan. We'll pay you back by February, latest. You can always reschedule your dental thing, right? It's not urgent. And like an idiot, I'd nodded. Transferred the money that same night because that's what I always did. When they wanted money for Jacob's school fees, I nodded. When they needed help with Dad's gambling debt that he swore was the last time, I nodded. When Kelly needed rent after she quit her job because her boss was mean, I nodded. I always nodded because if I didn't, I was selfish. Unhelpful. Ungrateful. Because family comes first. Because, after everything we've done for you. Done for me. They'd kicked me out when I was 17 because I refused to lie for Jacob after he stole Grandma's painkillers. They didn't show up to my college graduation, too busy helping Emily move into her boyfriend's place. They'd forgotten my birthday 3 years in a row. But when it came to money, suddenly I was family again. Grandma was watching me carefully across that table. Waiting. Her weathered hands had stopped folding the napkin. I guess they didn't think you'd mind, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. They left yesterday. Took off before I even woke up properly. Something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. The kind of crack that runs deep and splits everything into before and after. I looked at my grandmother sitting there in that empty kitchen, alone on Christmas Eve, and I knew this wasn't new. This was just louder. This was just them finally saying out loud what they'd been doing for years, using me. She reached across the table. put her weathered hand on top of mine. "We'll fix this," she said. Not a question. A promise. Her eyes were clear and sharp despite her age. I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak yet. But inside, something cold and focused was already taking shape. They'd made a mistake leaving me here with her. A big one. Because Grandma knew things. Had records. Had memories. And I had 4 days before they came back. 4 days to build something that would destroy them. The next morning, I did what any person would do. I went looking for them online. Found Emily's Instagram. She'd blocked me on her main account, but I remembered an old backup account I'd made years ago. And there they were. All 4 of them. My parents. My sister Emily. My brother Jacob and his wife Kelly. Lounging in matching white bathrobes on some ship deck, clinking champagne glasses, grinning like they'd just won the lottery. The caption made my blood run cold. Finally, some peace away from all the leeches and negativity. Leeches. They'd used my money, abandoned Grandma with cold leftovers, and called me a leech. I zoomed in on the photo. Could see the ship name on a life preserver in the background, Majestic Aurora. A quick search told me everything I needed to know. Caribbean luxury cruise. 10 days. Suite deck with private butler. Infinity pool. Gourmet restaurants. $3,000 per person. Times 4. $12,000 minimum. And they'd started with my $8,500. The math was simple. Sickening. But simple. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in my empty apartment, the sound bitter and sharp. They'd called me a leech while literally stealing my money to fund their vacation. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so devastating. That was the moment the last wire inside me snapped. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. And I had 4 days before they rolled back into town expecting me to smile and nod and pretend everything was fine. 4 days to gather everything I needed. 4 days to build a case they couldn't deny. 4 days to end this. That evening, I found myself standing in my parents' garage. Grandma had found me there, hunched over Dad's old filing cabinet, surrounded by stacks of paper that smelled like dust and decades of secrets. She didn't say anything at first. Just watched as I pulled out file after file, my hands moving on autopilot. I need to know everything, I told her, not looking up. Where the money went. What they did. Who knew. All of it. She sat down on an old paint bucket beside me, moving slowly because of that hip. Reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out a small notebook. Faded. Pages yellowed with age. She started flipping through it with the careful precision of someone who'd been keeping records for a very long time. "Let's start with 2016, she said quietly, her voice steady despite everything. "That's when your mother took my pension login information. Told me she needed it to help me manage my accounts better." My hand stilled on the filing cabinet drawer. 2016, that's 8 years of this. At least. She showed me a page. Dates. Amounts. Locations. All in her shaky handwriting. I've been tracking it. Didn't know what to do with it. Didn't think anyone would believe me. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd raised 3 children, who'd worked her whole life, who'd saved every penny. And they'd been stealing from her for 8 years. "They'll believe you now," I said. "Because I'm going to make it impossible not to." By midnight, we had numbers. By the next morning, we had a plan. But I was going to take it further than Grandma knew. Because they'd forgotten something crucial about me. Something that would be their downfall. I work with data. Not officially, my night job doesn't have a fancy title. But my freelance work? I build databases. Analyze patterns. Make sense of chaos. And they just handed me the biggest dataset of my life, decades of theft, all waiting to be organized. I pulled out my phone and started photographing. Every bank statement in that filing cabinet. Every bill. Every receipt Dad had shoved in there and forgotten about. Every scrap of paper that had a date and a number. My phone's camera flash lit up the garage like lightning, over and over, until I'd captured thousands of pages. Then I uploaded it all to optical character recognition software. The same software I use for freelance work. Within hours, my laptop was processing, converting those thousands of pages of handwritten numbers and printed statements into searchable, sortable data. Text I could query. Numbers I could analyze. Patterns I could prove. The software flagged patterns automatically. Every time Grandma's pension account showed a withdrawal, I cross-referenced it with Dad's location data from family photos. Every ATM withdrawal from Grandma's card happened at the same gas station. Dad's regular stop. The same one he'd been going to for 20 years. Emily's Venmo requests told their own story. Emergency car repair on March 3rd. But her Instagram showed a Sephora haul on March 4th, medical bills on June 12th, Apple Store receipt for a new laptop on June 13th, emergency after emergency that somehow always turned into luxury purchases. I built spreadsheets. Created heat maps showing the theft pattern over 5 years. Every withdrawal from grandma's pension glowed red on my timeline. Every spike in family spending glowed green. They were inversely related. Perfect correlation. When grandma's account dropped, theirs rose. Like clockwork. The numbers were damning, $78,000 over 5 years. $78,000 stolen from a woman who could barely walk, by the children she'd raised and the grandchildren she'd loved. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I used data visualization tools to build charts that would make a forensic accountant weep. Graphs showing grandma's pension account being systematically drained while family spending increased. Color-coded spreadsheets with formulas that auto-calculated interest at legal rates. Every transaction timestamped, cross-referenced, verified. The printer in my apartment ran for 2 hours straight, churning out page after page. 47 pages total when I was done. A complete forensic audit of their theft. Professional grade. Court-ready. Undeniable. Pause for a second. Comment below if you've ever been the family ATM. If you know what it feels like to be needed but not wanted. Because what happens next is going to hit different if you've lived this. On the 4th day, 2 nights before they were scheduled to return, someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, Kelly stood there. Jacob's wife. She looked exhausted. Eyes red and swollen like she'd been crying for hours. "Can you record this?" she asked without preamble, her voice shaking. "I need you to record what I'm about to say." I didn't ask questions. Just pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder app, and hit the red button. Held it up between us. The screen showed the timer, 1 second, 2 seconds, counting up. "I didn't want to go," Kelly said, the words tumbling out fast like she'd been holding them in for too long. "I begged Jacob not to. I told him it was wrong. That you'd worked so hard for that money. That grandma shouldn't be left alone." She took a shaky breath. Continued. "But he said if you didn't give us the money, they were just going to leave her and deal with the fallout later. He said it wasn't a big deal because you'd get over it. You always did. And I stayed quiet because he promised it would all blow over. That you'd forgive them like you always forgive them." Her voice cracked. "I can't do this anymore. I can't watch them destroy you and pretend it's okay. I can't lie for him anymore. I'm so sorry. I should have said something sooner." The recording ran for 10 minutes and 47 seconds. She told me everything. How they'd planned it. How Mom had convinced Dad. How Emily had laughed when Jacob worried I might say no. How Kelly had tried one last time to stop it the night before they left, and Jacob had told her to shut up and pack. When she left, I sat there with my phone in my hand, that recording saved and backed up to 3 different cloud services. I had everything now. The documents. The data. The numbers. The patterns. And a confession from inside their own circle. They thought they were so careful. They thought they'd covered their tracks. They had no idea what was waiting for them when they got home. 4 days. That's all it took. 4 days of them sipping champagne and calling me a leech while I built the case that would end them. 4 days of Grandma and me sitting in that garage, organizing decades of evidence. 4 days of Kelly's guilty conscience eating at her until she couldn't stay silent anymore. And then they came home. I heard them before I saw them. Laughter spilling out of a car in the driveway, loud and carefree. Car doors slamming. Luggage wheels on the gravel. They rolled in like royalty returning from conquest. Emily came through the door first, dragging a designer suitcase behind her, hair braided with little decorative ribbons, nails painted a fresh coral color. "Ugh," she said to no one in particular, "I am so glad to be back. That last dinner on the ship gave me hives. The salmon was overcooked." Behind her, Mom swept in wearing sunglasses despite it being evening, her skin bronzed with fresh tan. "Did you even clean up a little?" she asked, glancing around the living room, stepping over Grandma's knitted shawl on the floor like it was garbage. Dad followed, red-faced and bloated from 10 days of cruise buffets. He grunted when he saw me sitting at the dining table. "Oh, you're still here." Jacob came in last. Didn't even look at Grandma sitting in her chair by the window. Just dumped his bags by the couch and collapsed into it with a dramatic sigh. "I need a vacation from that vacation," he said, laughing at his own joke. Mom walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, made a face. "Where's the food? Did you even go grocery shopping?" "There's still some of the ham you left," I said evenly. "Plenty of it." Jacob snorted. "Still on about that? Dude, just order takeout. It's not like you're broke." I stood up slowly. Pulled out chairs at the dining table. "Actually, I'm glad you're all here. Sit down. I've got something to show you." Jacob rolled his eyes but dragged himself to a chair. Dad cracked his knuckles, trying to look intimidating. Emily was still searching for a phone outlet, barely paying attention. Mom sat down with an exaggerated sigh. I was sitting at the head of the table. My laptop was already open. And they had no idea that I'd connected it to their smart TV via an HDMI cable that I'd run under the rug that afternoon. Seriously, what's this about? Emily asked, plugging her phone in. We just got home. I know, I said. That's why this is the perfect time. I hit enter. The TV on the wall behind them blazed to life. 70 inches of high-definition evidence. Slide 1 appeared in letters 6 feet tall. Financial theft analysis, 2016 to 2024. A forensic review of elder abuse. Mom's wine glass, halfway to her lips, stopped moving. The room went quiet. Even Jacob sat up straighter. What is this? Mom asked, her voice suddenly tight. Keep watching, I said. The next slide appeared. Not a static image. An animation. A timeline that started playing automatically, each theft appearing chronologically with a sound effect. Ding. Like a cash register. Ding. 2016, Linda accesses grandma's pension account. $2,400 transferred to personal checking. Ding. 2017, Dad withdraws $3,200 from grandma's pension via ATM at Speedway gas station, 412, Oak Street. Same station he uses weekly. Ding. 2018, Emily Venmo request marked emergency car repair, $840. Actual charge, Sephora, $863. Same date. The timeline kept playing. Ding. 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 Each theft building on the last. The total in the corner of the screen climbing like a stock ticker, $15,000. $32,000. $56,000. $78,000. Mom's hand started shaking. The wine sloshed in her glass. Where did you get this? She asked, trying to sound angry but coming out scared. From Dad's filing cabinet, I said calmly. You really should lock the garage. Or at least shred your documents before shoving them in a drawer and forgetting about them for 8 years. The next slide appeared. Full screen. An email. Their email. From, Linda. To, Emily. Date, November 15th, 2024. Subject, cruise deposit. He won't notice the deposit missing. He trusts us too much. Just tell him it's a short-term loan. He always nods anyway. Book the suite. Below it, Emily's reply. Perfect. He's such a softie. Plus, who leaves grandma alone on Christmas anyway? Face with tears of joy. The laugh cry emoji was enlarged. Filled half the screen. Mocking them. This is insane, Jacob said, standing up so fast his chair scraped. You hacked Mom's email? That's illegal. Sit down, I said, my voice harder than I'd ever heard it. I didn't hack anything. Those are printed copies from the filing cabinet. Everything you're seeing came from paper records you forgot to destroy. Your own emails. Your own receipts. Your own handwriting. He sat down. Slowly. The next slide made Emily gasp. It was her Instagram post. The one from the cruise. All 4 of them in bathrobes, champagne glasses raised, smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. Below the image, I'd added text in red. Posted, December 24th, 2024, 7:43 p.m. While, grandmother ate alone with cold leftovers. Using, $8,500 stolen from grandson's dental surgery fund. Caption, finally, some peace away from all the leeches and negativity. Emily's face went pale. Take it down, she whispered. Please. Take it down. No, I said. Everyone's going to see exactly who you really are. But first, there's one more thing you need to hear. I clicked to the next slide. The screen went black except for a white play button in the center. I clicked it. Kelly's voice filled the room through the TV speakers. Crystal clear. Every word. I didn't want to go. I begged Jacob not to. But he said if you didn't give us the money, they were just going to leave her and deal with the fallout later. Jacob's face drained of all color. He jumped to his feet. You recorded my wife? You can't. She asked me to, I said, cutting him off. She came to me 2 nights ago. On her own. She's tired of lying for you. Tired of watching you bleed people dry. The recording kept playing. 10 minutes and 47 seconds of Kelly confessing everything. Every plan. Every lie. Every manipulation. When it ended, the silence in the room was absolute. Dad tried to speak. You little. I'm not done, I said. The final slide appeared. Not a presentation. A live screen. My email, open and ready to send. 2. Social Security Fraud Division. Rebecca Morrison, Grandma's attorney. County Ombudsman Office. Channel 7 News, Investigative Team. Daily Herald, Crime Desk. Subject, Formal Report of Elder Financial Abuse, Evidence Attached. Attachments. Financial_audit_2016-2024.pdf, 47 pages. Email_evidence.pdf. Instagram_screenshots.pdf. Kelly_confession.mp3, 1047. ATM_surveillance_matches.pdf. My cursor hovered over the send button. Blinking. You have 48 hours, I said, my voice level and cold. Return every penny. $14,322.85. That's the principal plus interest calculated at legal rates. 48 hours or I send this. All of it. To everyone. Emily's voice cracked. You're bluffing. You wouldn't ruin your own family. No, I said. You ruined yourselves. I'm just sending the bill. And then Grandma stood up. She'd been silent the entire time, sitting in her chair by the window, watching. But now she walked slowly to the head of the table. Put her weathered hand on the back of Dad's chair to steady herself. The room went quiet. Waiting. I raised 3 of you, she said. Her voice was quiet but it cut through everything. Fed you. Changed you. Protected you when you were scared. And when I couldn't walk anymore after that fall, you left me with frozen beans and moldy pie while you sipped champagne on money you stole from me. She paused. Let it sink in. You're lucky it's him coming after you, she continued, looking at each of them in turn. Because if it were just me alone. She trailed off. But the message was clear. The room stayed silent for 10 full seconds. Just breathing. Just the sound of people realizing they'd been caught. Then Dad muttered something under his breath and stormed out. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Emily tried to approach Grandma, arms out for a hug, tears streaming. Grandma turned away. Cold shoulder. Emily ran out sobbing. Jacob stood up last. Glared at me with pure hatred. You're not family anymore, he said. I smiled. Actually smiled. No, I said. I'm finally free. He left. The door closed. And it was just me and Grandma in that quiet house. She reached for my hand. Squeezed it. You did good, sweetheart, she whispered. But they didn't believe I'd actually send it. Even after everything. Even after the presentation. Even after Grandma's speech. They walked out thinking they'd won. Thinking I'd cave like I always caved. Thinking 48 hours was plenty of time for me to calm down and see reason. They were so wrong. For 24 hours, nothing happened. No calls. No texts. No apologies. Just silence. Grandma and I sat in that house eating microwave oatmeal, checking the bank account every hour. Nothing. On the second day, at exactly 6:13 p.m., my finger hovered over that send button one last time. I looked at Grandma. She nodded. I clicked it. Every file. Every screenshot. Every recording. Sent to the state authorities. CC'd to every news desk within 100 miles. The email whooshed away into the void. Within minutes, my phone dinged. An automated response, thank you for your submission. A case has been opened. Case hashtag 2024 EA 4782. On the third day at 7:04 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Jacob. I let it ring. It buzzed again. And again. 12 missed calls in an hour. Then the text started. We didn't mean it like that. Please. You're seriously going to destroy your own family over some money? Mom's in tears. Dad's talking to a lawyer. You're being emotional. Please take it down. We'll talk. I forwarded every message to Rebecca. Saved every voicemail. But I didn't respond. Because I'd already done something else. Something they didn't know about yet. While they were panicking, I'd created a website. Private. Password protected. Uploaded the entire presentation. Kelly's recording. The timeline. Everything. And I'd sent the link to 10 mutual family members and friends with a simple message, this is what really happened. Password releases in 24 hours unless they pay in full. Not just legal consequences. Social death. Everyone they knew was about to learn the truth. That night at 11:47 p.m., headlights appeared in my driveway. I watched from the window as Mom sat in her car for a full 5 minutes before finally getting out. She looked destroyed. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a messy bun. Dark circles under her eyes. She knocked on my door. Quiet. Almost timid. Can we talk? Her voice shook. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Crossed my arms. Only if you brought payment. She reached into her purse. Pulled out an envelope. Inside, a cashier's check for $8,500. No interest. I asked. Her face hardened. You're lucky to get this. We're being destroyed by what you're doing. The whole family is talking. People are asking questions. You've made us look like monsters. No, I said quietly. I'm standing up to thieves. There's a difference. I took the check. Closed the door. Went to my laptop and updated the website counter, $5,822.85 remaining. 1 down. 2 to go. The next morning, I woke up to an email from someone I never expected. A financial abuse awareness nonprofit. They'd found my case through the state filing. Wanted to interview me, Grandma, and Kelly for a documentary series. We filmed over 3 days. They made it professional. Real. Raw. Episode 1, The Note, When Family Becomes Financial Predator, hit 180,000 views in 2 days. Episode 2, The Filing Cabinet, How One Grandson Built a Case, reached 340,000 views. Episode 3, The 48-Hour Ultimatum, Justice for Grandma, exploded. 520,000 views and climbing. The organization used Emily's Instagram caption, "Finally, some peace away from all the leeches and negativity," as their campaign slogan. Turned it into a rallying cry. Ironic justice. On day 6, Emily called. Screaming. Hysterical. The video is everywhere. My employer saw it. They're firing me. Turned out her boutique marketing firm had watched the documentary. Saw the part about Emily's Venmo requests for emergencies being Sephora charges. Started looking at her expense reports. Found the same pattern. Luxury purchases disguised as business expenses. You're getting fired because you're a thief, I told her. Just like with Grandma. Just like at work. She paid in 4 installments over the next week. $775 each. I made her photograph every money order. Made her write the memo line in her own handwriting, repayment for theft. Every single one. 2 weeks in, Kelly filed for separation from Jacob. Her statement to the court, "I will not allow my children to grow up in a household where lying and stealing are normalized." She called me that same day. "I'm sorry it took me this long. But I've seen who he really is now. Do you need help finding a place?" I asked. Silence. Then, only if it comes with no strings attached. Then yes, I said. Because you did the right thing when it mattered. 3 days later, Jacob showed up at my door. Unshaven. Clothes wrinkled. Eyes wild. "You're a fool," he hissed. "You ruined everything." I handed him an envelope. Legal documents. Rebecca had filed a motion for wage garnishment. He tried to tear them in half. I didn't even flinch. "Pay every penny," I said. "Or we freeze your accounts." "I'm not bluffing. Ask Dad. He's parked down the street watching right now." Jacob's head snapped toward the street. Sure enough, Dad's car sat 3 houses down. Engine running. 2 weeks later, Jacob's employer started automatic deductions. $2,700 total. Every penny went directly into Grandma's account. Not mine. Hers. Total recovered, $14,300. But I didn't just take the money and disappear. I documented where every dollar went. $3,000, my dental surgery. I scheduled the appointment. Got those 3 cracked molars fixed. Photographed the receipt. Sent it to the family group chat with a message, "Got my surgery. Here's the receipt you paid for." $2,000, Grandma's lift chair and a home health nurse. Photographed the installation. Sent pictures showing Grandma smiling in her new chair. Actually comfortable for the first time in years. $9,300, into a trust account in Grandma's name. Dual signature required, hers and mine. Sent them the legal documents showing they had 0 access. Ever. Every update went to that website before I took it down. They saw exactly where their stolen money went. To fixing what they'd broken. Over the next months, they tried to rebuild. All of them. And all of them failed. Emily created a TikTok. Username at fresh_start_Emily. First video, starting over after cutting out toxic people. Comment within hours, 4,200 likes, "Didn't you steal from your grandma for a cruise?" Thinking face. Account deleted in 3 days. Mom tried YouTube. Cozy kitchen with Linda. First episode, her making chocolate chip cookies in a bright kitchen. Top comment within minutes, 890 likes, "Did you pay for that oven with your mother's pension?" Channel deleted in 2 days. Jacob applied for new jobs. But every background check showed the wage garnishment. Employers ghosted him. Every single one. The internet never forgets. And I'd made sure the evidence stayed searchable. 3 weeks after everything settled, I was at the grocery store with Grandma. Just buying soup and ginger ale. Normal stuff. A woman approached us. Older. Elegant. She looked familiar in that way strangers sometimes do. "Excuse me," she said, looking at me. Are you the one from the documentary? The one who saved his grandmother? I tensed. Wasn't sure if this was good or bad. She smiled. I just wanted to say thank you. My sister, her family did the same thing to our mother. But no one fought for her. No one stood up. I wish someone had. She touched my arm briefly. Gentle. Then walked away. I turned to Grandma. She was frozen, hand on a can of chicken noodle soup, tears welling in her eyes. I didn't think anyone saw us, she whispered. Didn't think anyone knew. They do now, I said. And maybe someone else will fight back because of it. That's when I realized this wasn't just about money. Or revenge. Or even justice. This was about telling the truth out loud so other people knew they could do it too. 6 months later, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Mom. We're selling the house. Moving to a smaller place. Wanted you to know. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just information. I showed Grandma. Should I respond? She shook her head. You already said everything that mattered. In that garage. At that table. In those emails. I deleted the message. That night, Grandma and I had dinner. Just the two of us. Chicken she'd made in her own kitchen, in her own house that she got to keep. The house she'd lived in for 40 years. Because I'd fought to make sure she didn't have to leave. Do you ever regret it? She asked, setting down her fork. Fighting back that hard? I thought about it. Really thought. I only regret not doing it sooner, I said. She smiled. Reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You always were the only one who stayed kind, she said. Even when you got mean, you stayed kind where it counted. That night, I slept better than I had in 5 years. Not because the money was back. Not because they'd been punished. But because I'd finally stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for herself. And because I'd documented everything. So if they ever tried to rewrite history, and they would, I had the receipts. Literal receipts. Grandma's hand squeezed mine across that dinner table, and I finally understood what freedom felt like. The kind that comes from choosing yourself over people who chose a cruise over you. If you've ever been the family ATM, drop your story in the comments. You're not alone. Hit like if this hit home. Subscribe because more is coming.